Hello everyone, welcome to Mr. Wegman's video on some tips and tricks to help you on the Pennsylvania Keystone exam, especially some calculator tips and tricks. So let's take a look at a problem involving a table. This table, we have some inputs and outputs. Whenever you're given a table, we can enter the inputs and outputs using the stat key. So let me pull up my calculator. We are going to hit stat and enter. Now I already have my inputs, which in this case inputs deal with teaspoons of baking powder, and my output is going to be the height of brownies. So I already have everything in. It's important that you have L1 and L2. If for whatever reason you don't see that, hit stat option 5 and enter. That should resolve the issue. When you hit stat enter, you should definitely see L1 and L2 then. So the next thing we're going to do is, once we have the data in the calculator, we're going to ask the calculator to represent this data as a linear function, y equals mx plus b. Just hit stat, go over to calculate, and option 4, and enter. What we see is it's going to tell us the slope, 0.27x, plus the y-intercept is 0.75, which in this case the answer would be D. And other types of questions they could ask you, well, what if you use 13 tablespoons or 20 tablespoons? We can use the equation then to get different outcomes. So make sure you can handle any problems involving tables. Okay, I have another problem. This time we're given an equation where J stands for Jerry's pay every week before taxes, and H is the number of hours that he works overtime. So I'm going to go to the y equals screen, and I'm going to type in, I already have it in, the 560 plus 21x. Right here is your variable key. Underneath the mode key is the variable key. And next, I see these inputs. I want outcomes for 2, 4, 6, and so on. And if I want my table in the calculator to have this exact setup, I'm going to hit Second, Windows, and I'm going to have my table start at 2, and I'm going to have it increase by 2. So that when I go to my table, second graph, I'm going to see all the corresponding outcomes. I'm going to see when he works 2 hours overtime, his outcome, his pay is 602. And so if you look at this real quickly, you're going to see that it matches up with A. A would be the answer. Okay, let me take a moment real quickly to show everyone how to reset their calculators. It's important to reset your calculators often. When you get a calculator, just get in the habit of hitting second plus option 7. Let's reset all the RAM, 1, 2. And let's do it again, second plus option 7, and let's reset all the defaults. Okay, now everything is back to the normal settings. Okay, here's another example of a problem that involves a linear function, where in this case my output is salary and my input is T, which stands for the time since the date of hire in years. So my input is in years. So we have to make sure you understand what your input and output represents in every problem. It's always going to be different, slightly different, so read the problem carefully, know your inputs and outputs. So when I go to my calculator, the y equals screen, I can type this problem in, okay, where y is the salary, that's my output, and my x is going to be the number of years. So the goal is to figure out how many years I'm going to have to work so that I make at least $35,000. And if you go to your table, let me turn back on my calculator, go second graph, I can see that when I work 3 years, I'm just under 35,000. So working 3 full years will not do it, but when I work 4 years, when T is 4, that puts me above my $35,000 goal. So the answer to this problem would be 4 years. Okay, here's another problem that involves a table. This time we want to know Alex is flying 2,075 miles. The table below shows the number of miles left to go after each hour of travel. So if Alex continues at this current rate, how many miles will he have remaining after he travels 7 hours? So basically we want to see a complete table. Now here's the steps to be able to take this information, write an equation, type it into our calculator, and then look at a complete table of inputs and outputs. Okay, all we need to do is hit the stat key and enter, and we're going to type all the inputs and outputs in list 1 and list 2. Once you have that typed in, you'll hit stat, calc, option 4, enter, and you would want to write this down: y equals negative 213x plus 2075. And hopefully you understand that the slope in this case, every hour we're traveling 213 miles. So when I go to my table, and before I go to my table to see the values, you need to go to the y equals screen and type in the equation. Okay, I wish the calculator would automatically put that in when you hit the stat calc, but it doesn't. So it's your job to put in the actual equation that we found using the stat calc, and we type it in at the y equals screen, and then go second graph. You want to make sure that you start at 0. You can see the complete table now. So he has 2,075 miles to travel, and you can see as the time goes by the remaining miles that he still has to travel. So when x is 7, after 7 hours, we see 584 miles left. Okay, I already showed how you can reset your entire calculator, but if you just want to reset and have it clear your list, so if you already used the stat key for one problem and you want to quickly do another problem like this example here, I'm going to just have to hit second plus option 4 and enter. And now when I hit the stat key and enter, lists are clear, all ready to go. Okay, here's a problem that will involve the box and whisker plot. We're told to find the interquartile range. So to do the interquartile range, we need to know the upper quartile, Q3, and we need to know the lower quartile, Q1, and we're going to take the difference. That's the interquartile range. So we can ask the calculator for all this information by hitting the stat key and enter. You're going to just type all the scores in list 1. So here we only have list 1. Once you have everything typed in, you're going to hit stat, go over to calc, and this time it is option 1 and enter. Okay, you're going to see a lot of numbers in the beginning. The first number is actually the mean, so the actual average. You add all the scores up, divide by the number, and this is what the mean is. But you have to scroll down to actually see all the important pieces of the box and whisker plot. 50 is your minimum. There's the Q1, there's the median, there's Q3. So in this case, I just need to take 88 minus 57, and when you do that, you get an interquartile range of 31. Now let me show you. You don't really need to see the box and whisker plot to answer questions like this, but if you did want to see an actual box and whisker plot of this information, you're going to hit second, y equals is the stat plot. We need to turn this on. So I turn it on, hit enter to toggle from off to on, and then the type, I'm going to go down to type, and I'm going to select the box and whisker, which is this guy right here. So when I hit enter, it knows to look at list 1, and all you need to then do is go to zoom and option 9, which the calculator automatically will set everything up so that it has all the correct ranges and the windows set. So when I hit option 9, I am going to be able to see my box and whisker plot. If you hit trace, you can see all the critical numbers, the same numbers that we saw when we just hit stat calc option 1. So, but if you actually wanted a visual of your box and whisker plot, there it is. Just remember with box and whisker plots, all it tells you is 25% of the scores fell within this range, 25% falls within this range, 25 and 25. That's all a box and whisker plot will tell you. Okay, here's another problem involving a box and whisker plot where I have to enter the numbers into my calculator by hitting the stat key, enter, list 1, type in all the numbers. Once numbers are in, stat, calc, option 1. And then you need to scroll down. So if this is a matching, I need to look for a minimum of 6. I need my box to start at 9. I need the median to be 18 and the Q3 to be 27, the end of my box, and my max is 33. So again, if you wanted a visual of this, you had to make sure that the stat plots are turned on. I still have them turned on. And then zoom, option 9. And then when I hit trace, I'm going to be able to see all the critical pieces. Okay, so again, this would just be a matching problem, but that's how you do a box and whisker plot. Okay, this next problem involves compound probability. We have a situation where we have 12 red grapes and 13 green grapes in a bag. We're told that she ate 7 green grapes in a row. Somehow she reached in and was able to get 7 green grapes all in a row. So what's left in the bag is 6 green, 12 red. So what's the probability that she's going to be able to eat? The 8th grape is going to be green, and then followed by a red grape. So if there's 6 green out of a total of 18, that's 6 out of 18. Okay, after she pulls out a green, she wants to reach in and pull out a red. Well, there's going to be 12 red out of the remaining total of 17 grapes. So let me just quickly show you on a calculator how you compute this on a calculator. All you have to do to type in fractions, just make sure you put them in parentheses. 6 divided by 18, yes, you could have reduced to 1/3, but I'm going to just simply type in 6 divided by 18 times the probability of 12 out of 17. And when you do this calculation, it's going to give you a decimal, about a 23.5% chance. All my answers are as fractions, so you hit the math key, enter, enter, and I can see that she would have a 4 out of 17 shot of making this event come true. Okay, the next problem involves simplifying a radical. Ideally, I would love for you to be able to just look at a number, simplify it, find a perfect square that's a factor of the number underneath the radical. For example, 288 is really 144 times 2. I can take the square root of 144, get a nice 12. Square root of 2 stays the square root of 2. But let's say you're not sure. You could always double check by doing second x squared, the square root, and type in the actual problem. Square root of 288 is this as a decimal. I could go through my choices. Again, this is just as a backup if you for whatever reason you can't simplify a square root without a calculator. You can go through your list, and when I get to C, which is 12 times the square root of 2, I am going to see that they are equivalent. They are the same. So again, that's just a backup. If you're dealing with square roots and you need to simplify, here's just a backup. Compare decimals. Okay, here's another problem involving square root. This time I need to find the value that I need to replace the x with so that my original problem, the 5 root 97 times some number, is equivalent to 55 root 97. So again, as a backup, if you have no idea how to actually do this problem, you can see the work of what I can do without a calculator to know the answer. I know that I need to replace the x with a 121 so that when I take the square root of 121, it becomes 11. 5 times 11 is the 55. But I can just double check on a calculator and I can show that my two values are equivalent. 55 root 97 is equivalent to 5 times the square root of 97 times 121. So 121 makes the values equivalent. Okay, this is the end of part 1. Please check out part 2 for more tips and tricks to help you on the Keystone. Thank you for watching.